everyone, it's Sharia. I haven't made a video in a long time, but I think the last video I made was how I met my husband, but I wanted to get on here and record this video and tell you pretty much how my births went. I've had 3 children. I want to just talk about, you know, how my pregnancies were, the differences, all that kind of stuff. And as you can tell, there's a brand new little one down here. He's just a week old. And our first boy, we have 2 girls that are 6 and 1 that is 3, and now we have our little boy. And I'm happy because I don't want to do this again. But if you hear yelling in the background, that's my oldest daughter. She's home from school today because she has a sty in her eye, and you know, the drama. Anyway, and excuse me for looking a little bit rough, but I just had a baby a week ago and I'm trying to readjust. Anyway, he's staring at me listening. Anyway, let's start with, like I said, I had 3 children, 2 girls and a boy. My very first pregnancy, well, let's start here. I've been married for almost 9 years to a wonderful man. I love him very much. His name is Joshua. He's the best daddy in the whole entire world to these little ones. And when we got married in October of 2009, we had talked about, you know, I was older than him. He was 19 and I was 23 when we got married. So there was a big age difference, obviously, but you know, God works in mysterious ways, and when it's God, then you know everything's gonna work out. Anyway, we had talked about, you know, I wanted children right away because obviously I was older and that biological clock tick tick ticks and he gets louder with each year. And so we had said, let's have, oh, bless you, oh, bless you, my goodness, okay? Yeah. Oh my goodness, okay. We said, let's wait a year and then we'll start trying to have, you know, children. Excuse me. So we waited a year. It didn't come without, oh, I want a baby now, because you know, you just get those feelings and you just want to be pregnant and have a baby. So after a year, we started trying, and right away, shockingly, I got pregnant, and that was, I'll never forget that moment of taking the test and like yelling from the bathroom, Joshua! And like I instantly started like getting nervous. I started shaking. I didn't know what to feel, how to feel. And here's my husband smiling from ear to ear after finding out the news. You were just staring at me, aren't you, boo boo? Yeah, yeah. And he was excited. He was happy. So my very first pregnancy went very well, very smooth. The only issue that I had was a gallbladder attack when I was about 5-ish months. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was labor. Ended up being my gallbladder. And it didn't affect me again until after I had her. So we obviously wanted to know what we were having. And when the time came, we found out. And obviously, it's a girl. Her name is Adeline. And she's 6 years old now. Yay! Yeah, that's her in the background. And so she was supposed to be born August 8th. And my mom and my grandma had come in from out of town. At the time, we lived in North Carolina. My mom and my grandma came from Pennsylvania, and they had been there for like almost a week and a half, just waiting for Adeline to arrive, doing what we do, walking, shopping, doing everything, trying to get her out. Well, she wasn't coming. And so I got impatient, and I had a doctor. I went to an actual like doctor for my first time, and I had the option of being induced. And so I told my doctor, I said, listen, stay right there. Get her out now, or you're going to be coming to my house to help me afterwards. And so she was like, okay, we'll set you up. And I was quickly scheduled for an induction. Into the hospital we went on, I think, August 3rd, sometime in the morning / early afternoon. What do you want, boo-boo? Okay. And got hooked up to everything. My mom and grandma were there, my husband were there, and contractions started. They broke my water. They hurt really bad. I got an epidural, and things were very, very slow. And I think I reached about 8 centimeters, And then the doctor kind of came in and said, no, let's just have a C-section. And mind you, I've been in labor for about 30 hours at that point. And so her head was kind of like in a weird position. So we were progressing, but it wasn't like as fast as I guess the doctor wanted it to. So I had a C-section, and out she came, wide-eyed, looking at the world, and loving her daddy from the very first moment. And recovery from that was rough. It was very rough. My very first one, I didn't know what to expect, how to feel, what to do. Like, I was raised around young kids, always watching them, babysitting, all that kind of stuff. So I knew about babies. I have a brother and a younger brother and a younger sister. So I knew about babies. But when it's yours, it's kind of different. And so we spent a few more days in the hospital. We got let go. I did not like my experience in the hospital. I found it very cold and heartless, and people just flipping you over and not really giving you an answer as to why, and doing things that I just didn't understand because I wasn't educated and I didn't know what to expect and how to be treated and all that kind of stuff. So all I remember at one point is the reason why I don't like, one of the main reasons was because we were being discharged, and one of the nurses just up and took Adeline in the car seat and just walked out. And here I am, supposed to be in a wheelchair, being wheeled to the front of the hospital to go home, walking down the hallway, mind you, C-section, should not be walking, and this nurse is taking my baby, and I didn't know what she was going to do because she didn't say anything. And so my mom is like almost running after the baby, tears in her eyes, looking back at me like, who should I help? Who should I help? I said, Mom, go be with the baby. Go be with the baby. And the nurse was just taking her to the nursery to take the alarm off of her ankle. Well, she didn't tell me, so I didn't know. So I thought, oh my gosh, what's going on? So my mom went to be with her, and we finally got home and had to find our good routine, and we did. But it didn't come with some struggles, I'll tell you that. Sleepless nights I wasn't used to. Pain from a C-section and recovering, well, I wasn't used to, and then a gallbladder attack after gallbladder attack. With a little one, it was not fun. I could barely eat anything. My husband worked second shift, so he was gone at night, so that was rough. But praise God that he got us through it, and I don't know how, but we did. And she's a beautiful young lady now, and I couldn't ask for anything better. We've had some fantastic times, and you know, I obviously had my gallbladder out a month after I had her, so that was rough. So C-section and then a gallbladder. So that was kind of rough, but I had wonderful people around me and a wonderful husband to help. And so that was our first child. 3 years later, we decided to have another child. And I always wanted just 2 kids. I never wanted 3 or 4 or 5 because I never wanted a middle child. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. So 3 years later, we are in Florida at this time. We have moved to Florida in 2013, April 1st, 2013. I hear you, Valley. Yeah, I do. To take a position in Deltona as worship pastors at a church, a local church. And so I think we had been in our new house maybe a month or 2, and we decided now's the time to expand our family. So we started trying, and again, right away, I got pregnant with our second child. And of course, we wanted to know what it was. When the time came, we found out it was another girl. So I was like, oh, I got this. I had plenty of clothes, plenty of stuff. I felt like, okay, I can do this. I can do this. And so that pregnancy went well. You know, our 3-year-old, at the time she was 3, she was enjoying mommy's belly, talking to sister. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Oh yeah. You just ate, you're okay. And so at this time, I started out with a doctor, an OBGYN, and at about 7-ish weeks, I had went into an appointment, granted it's very early, and was pretty much told, you need to pay this amount of money or we can't see you, we can't help you. And I was like, wait a second, what? It was like these doctor's fee, delivery fees, and I was like, I haven't even had the baby yet, and I don't know what this is. I said, ma'am, you know, we come from a one-income family. How do you want me to come up with this money? And she was pretty much like, if you can't pay it, we can't see you. And I was like, okay. So I left that doctor's office bawling my eyes out. You never tell a pregnant woman that you can't treat her and help her and, you know, be there for her during her pregnancy. And so that was one of the worst days of my life. I can remember that. It may sound dramatic, but it just was heartbreaking. And I'm on my way home, and on my way to see my husband at the office, and I get pulled over by a cop and get my very first ticket. So that didn't add to the wonderfulness of the day. And I was on the phone crying to my mama. But anyway, that was just a little minor bump in the road. Only for God to show me that there was, you sir, stop, another route, an alternate route that I didn't think was possible. And so, what? I'm sorry, guys. The demands of a newborn. What? Good night. Yeah, I'm good night. Anyway, so I had found, stop, this website of a place that was nearby me. And I didn't think it was possible because I was like, oh, I don't know. And I kind of looked into it, and it was called Tree of Life Birthing Center here in Florida. And so I was like, okay, well, let me just give them a call and see what they're about. And I didn't quite know, you know, what midwifery was and how all that went. And little boy, you need to stop. You are okay. Yeah. And so I went in and had an appointment. They were wonderful people. They were so kind. They were there with me every single step. And they literally became, you know, your friends. And you can call them for anything at any time. And I went through my whole pregnancy with them. And I was like, you know, I want to have her at home. Because by law in Florida, at least this is what I'm told, once a C-section, always a C-section. And I did not want another C-section nor a hospital interaction, whatever. I did not want that. And so the only other option was to have her at home. And I was like, oh boy, no medication. Oh boy, okay, I can do this. And so throughout the whole entire pregnancy, you know, visit after visit, things were going great. I'm praying every day, Lord, give me the strength to get through this. I need your help. I need your strength. I need you to be there with me as I go through this. And so the due date came and went, and I'm like, tick tock, and my grandma and my mom are here once again, from Pennsylvania. And at this time, my mom moved to North Carolina a few years before that, so she was here. And again, we're just playing the waiting game. And so every single day that passed after my due date, I was crying. I was like, why isn't she coming? I just want her to come. I want to see her. And so 10 days after my due date, 10, y'all, 10, she finally decided to make her appearance. I had woke up on a Monday morning. I had an appointment that morning, and my back was aching. And I was like, something's not right. And so I made it to an appointment. They did what they had to do there. And I came home, and whoo, the contractions. I didn't know what a contraction felt like, because with my first one, I was induced and immediately almost had the epidural, so I didn't really know what that kind of pain felt like. Like, I had like this much experience with it. So I was like, oh, this hurts really bad. And so labor started, and the midwives came when the contractions were timeable, set up the pool, the hot water pool. Oh my gosh, that thing was amazing. I labored in there, and I kind of just went into a zone. I don't know what went on. I don't know where I was, what time it was, anything like that. I just kind of was in tune to my body and allowing it to labor. 14 hours of labor at home. My little one finally decided, in 30 minutes of pushing, decided she wanted to come out on my bed. And so that's where I had her. I delivered her on my bed, and she was beautiful. She was wonderful, and she's now 3 years old. Her name is Erilyn. She is at school right now, so that's why you don't hear any more craziness behind me. And she's a wonderful, happy, sweet girl. And I thought, oh my gosh, I couldn't love another human being so much after having 2 children. And I was like, this is fantastic. This is great. So everything went fantastic with that pregnancy and delivery. I had wonderful, wonderful midwives. And then, again, as you see, I'm holding a third. We decided that, you know, we want a boy. My husband wanted that boy. And so I had been given a word by a lady that I know from church, and she had told me to, she said, God told her to tell me that I'm supposed to tell God the desires of my heart. And I was like, okay, I don't even know what that is. I don't know what it is. And so as I started figuring those things out, one of the desires of my heart was to have another child, and it be a boy. Yeah, you. Yeah. Little sugar. Yeah. Who's always hungry. So, me and my husband, we tried again. And this time, when I hit 30 years old, my body kind of went a little weird and wacky when it came to, you know, cycles and all that kind of stuff. Like, it says 30, oh, surprise, let's just be very unpredictable and not, you know, do what we have done, you know, the 15, 20 years previous. So it became a little difficult to get pregnant instead of it right away, which I know people are going to be like, I tried years, I've tried this and that, but to me, I was used to it right away. It took us a couple months to get pregnant. We started trying in April, and I did not get pregnant until June. And I know, again, I'm not, you know, trying to negate anybody who's been trying for years. You know, I'm not trying to be, you know, braggy or whatever, but, you know, everyone's story is different. And so I wasn't, first of all, used to that. So I was like, okay, whatever. And so 3 years after I had my second, we tried for this one. So about June, I got pregnant, and I was super excited, and we were all excited. And this pregnancy was, you know, kind of different than the rest. And you okay? All right. I'd had minimum morning sickness with the girls. I had it very, very rough for like 6 to 8 weeks straight, just puking. This one was off and on. So I was like, okay, whatever. But this pregnancy was the roughest pregnancy that I've had. I became very dehydrated very fast, like all the time, even though I was drinking water and taking care of myself. I remember in September that right before the hurricane, the huge hurricane that came through, I had went to the emergency room because I could not stop throwing up. I was so sick. I had a headache. And I was very dehydrated. So they had given me fluids and something for the nausea, sent me home, and I was good for a little while. And then every time I went to I went with the Tree of Life Birthing Center again, and the midwives, and the holistic route. You, little sir, are being a little tush tush. Yeah, hush. I'm almost done. Hush. You're all right. You're all right. Yeah, it's okay. All right. Okay, anyway, I went the midwife route again, and we've had our appointments, and every time as I got bigger and towards the end, they kept saying, oh, he's breech, he's breech, and every single time I went into the office there for like 2 months, they're like, oh, he's breech, and it concerned me because I was like, I want to have another home birth, I want to have another natural birth, I don't want to have to go to the hospital and, you know, be cut open and blah, blah, blah. So he would, so every time I go to the midwife appointment, they would tell me that. And I would do all these funky things, get on hands and knees and put my booty in the air or put my legs up in the air, or, you know, I'd do all these funky things, little incense burning things on my toes called moxibustion and acupuncture. And the list goes on and on and on of what they wanted me to do to try to get this little boy to turn. And so what I didn't know is every child that you have stretches things out just a little bit more, so he had a little bit more room to, you know, be an acrobat in there. So he was just having a good old time flipping around and whatever. And so every day would be something different. He'd be head up and then head down, head up and head down, and I would feel the pains and then I would go away. And so the closer we got to the end of this pregnancy, he was still breech, and I was like, okay, I did everything I could to get him to turn head down. And finally, he just did it on his own. And they said, don't worry about it. He'll just do it on his own. And I was like, okay, trusting God, but crying in the meantime because I was so, you know, nervous. And my mom had come down at the beginning of February. I was supposed to be due February 27th. And she had been here the very beginning. And I said, you know, it's gonna be a while. So she's been here. She was here almost a month and a half, when he decided he wanted to come into the world. And so I was 11 days late with this little boo-boo right here. And every day that passed, I was like, I just want him to come out. I never wanted to meet another human being so badly in my life. I was like, I just want him to come. I want him to come, because I thought he was going to come early because I was so big and things are moving so quickly. And so they stripped my membranes a few times, and that seemed to be kind of working. I was 6 centimeters for the longest time. And then all of a sudden on Saturday, March 10th, 7 in the morning, I get up and I started feeling crampy, and I was like, oh, something's not right. Something doesn't feel good. And so I was like, okay, maybe these are contractions. I started timing them, and sure enough, 2 minutes apart and lasting for a minute, and they were just coming and coming and coming. And so I was like, okay, it's time to call the midwife. The midwife came. My husband had come home from the women's conference that morning, and little sugar, hush, you're okay, you're okay. And so, and then action started. Well, the midwives came, and come to find out, once again, I was very dehydrated and made my contractions one right after the other. And so it kind of wasn't letting up. And the midwives tried their hardest to get an IV in me, poked me about 8 times, which was not fun. I was chugging Gatorade, and at one point I know I threw it all up, and so we were like back to square one. Well, the midwife had checked me, and I was about 6 centimeters, and she broke my water. And once she broke my water, she noticed that it was very thick and gooey substance that came out. And what had ended up happening was he had had a bowel movement while in my stomach. And she knew right away that we needed to go to the hospital. And I was like, what? Oh no, that's not my plan. That's not my plan. And so the contractions obviously kept coming, and they're more intense. And I was like, oh gosh, here we go, here we go. And so that car ride to the hospital, that was about 22 minutes, felt like eternity in like the beginnings of rush hour traffic. All I could do was sit in the back of the car, like in a position that semi-helped, and just breathe really hard and pray to God that we got there and I didn't deliver him in the car. And so I just remember opening my eyes at one point and going, please let us be there. And then we were actually there. And I was like, okay, great. And so we get into the waiting area, and the front desk lady's taking her sweet old time, and here I am screaming because it hurts so bad. I thought I was just gonna have him right there, and one of the nurses is like, don't push, don't push. I was like, I can't help it. And so I get to the hospital, I'm like 8-ish centimeters, maybe a little bit further along, and I get rushed up to a room, and the doctor comes in, and they check everything out, and by this time I'm almost ready to push. And so the doctor's like keeping his hand up in me, and I'm swatting at his hand like, get out, it hurts. I had no medication. They would not give me an epidural because I was too far along. And so they gave me some sort of loopy medicine that was like, hey, this is nice, but I still felt all the pain. And so and mind you, I had a photographer this time, a videographer this time, so I could, my sister-in-law, she videoed and photographed all these moments that I didn't get to see because I was concentrating on the pain and getting him out. And so that was beautiful. And so the doctor came in, and he said, I'm giving you 2 hours to push him out, or you're being transferred to another hospital for a C-section, because I'm not supposed to allow you to have a vaginal birth because you've had a C-section, even though you've had a VBAC, a successful VBAC. And I was like, what? No way. I'm like 9-10 centimeters, and by the time I get transferred, I'm going to have that baby in wherever you transfer me in. So he helped. He did what he had to do. And I remember pushing and pushing and pushing for an hour and a half. I pushed. And it hurt like, you know what. And out he came, 14-inch head, whew, and 21 inches long, and 8 pounds 6 ounces. And here he came. Out he came at 8:51 p.m. on Saturday, March 10th. And I had our baby boy. And I was so happy. And of course we had to stay in the hospital a few days to make sure everything was okay, because I had I was positive for that bacteria that could, I think, strep B or something like that. So that was just another thing that came on that I didn't have with the other girls. Like I had everything with this one and nothing major with the other two. So that was another concern, giving me dosage of medicine for that. And so he came, and I was so thankful. We spent a few days in the hospital and came home and readjusted to life, and now we're doing great. We're doing fantastic. He's eating like a little piggy and growing, and my two other girls are such big helpers. Huh? You're a big helper with me. And I couldn't ask for a better life. I forgot to tell you how much all my kids weighed. My first one, Adeline, which you just see right there, she was 6 pounds, 9 ounces, a tiny little peanut. And my second child was 8 pounds, 6 ounces. She obviously didn't feel like 8 pounds, 6 ounces. And then this one was 8 pounds, 6 ounces, but he felt a lot bigger than 8 pounds, 6 ounces. But every single birth, every single pregnancy was very, very, different. But, God was with me the whole entire time. I couldn't ask for anything better. Things didn't go as planned with this last one at all. I had a plan and I wanted it to go one way, but I know God had another plan that, he was looking out for me the whole entire time, which that's all I could ever ask for. And I'm very grateful to be able to have children, to take care of children, to be pregnant, to experience all that stuff, and have a wonderful life. And so, yeah, that was my birth stories, my pregnancy stories. I am now, obviously, we have 3 kids. I'm 32, and I'm done. I don't want to have any more kids after that one, because that one was rough. And I don't want to really do that again, unless, God lays it on my heart, or we adopt, or whatever. Who knows what the future may hold. But I just want to thank you for watching, and thank you for listening. I hope this encourages somebody that, you can get pregnant. God works in mysterious ways. You never know what's going to happen. And that there's alternative routes to a hospital birth. And I'm not knocking anything. If you want to go to the hospital, girl, and get you some medicine, be knocked out, be cut out, you go for it. It doesn't matter how a baby comes into this world, as long as they're safe and healthy, and the mama is safe and healthy. Because pregnancy is all fun and games, until you have to push that baby out. Then it's completely different. But yeah, so however you choose to bring your baby into the world, you go for it. You go, girl. And I just want to encourage all the women and say, you can do this. You're stronger than you think. You have more strength than you think. Don't doubt yourself. Be confident in the woman that you are. I know I doubted myself a lot, and I came out of each, delivery going, wow, I did this. I brought this human into the world, and I'm so proud of myself. And I was like, I have bragging rights because I did this. I was like, you can't tell me that I'm not strong because I did this. And, I just took great pride in, delivering a human being, and having such different stories and being able to relate to so many different people. So I hope this encouraged you. I hope this was, something that you're interested in watching. But, yeah, that's pretty much it. And I'm going to go tend to this little one and the other one out there. And I hope you guys have a fantastic day. And I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.